Boils and Ghouls. It is another episode of the mailbag. Now, I know we just kind of did one, but I've got a ton more books that I want to show off, and as always, I like to give these things plenty of room to breathe. If you are looking to get your book featured on the Indie Spotlight or on the mailbag episode, please get the comment section below. Drop me a direct message on Instagram, hit me up via email, hit me up on Facebook. I want to get as many good books as humanly possible on this channel and give them a fair flip through. I cannot promise an Indie Spotlight for every single book that comes in, but I can promise you it will be on the channel and we will take a look at it. I will read it and it will be examined. So if you're interested, please do hit me up. So if you guys have been watching the channel, you know I'm a little bit obsessed with Tony. Tony was super nice and he stuck me on the subscription list for Serious Creatures. I just kind of wanted to flip through this. If you guys haven't heard me talk about Tony McMillan, he is one of the preeminent talents that I've discovered while doing this new Indie Spotlight mailbag episode. I'm really taken with his work. Serious Creatures is a biography piece told by him through the eyes of Rob Bottin, who was like one of the best and most important practical effects makeup artists of the past, ever, actually, just ever, period. Unfortunately, not much is known about Rob, and Tony uses that as a way to utilize Serious Creatures as more of a biographical piece than just as an autobiographical piece, rather than just a biography piece about Bottin, as not much is known about his life. If you just want to get sold on like artwork or whatever alone, I mean, this issue has got enough references and cool images in it that it should just like knock your socks off. I mean, you got E.T. right here, you got Elvira, right before that you've got Nightmare on Elm Street, Mad Max, tons of Thing references all throughout this, obviously. And then right before that you got Raiders of the Lost Ark, and you got, is that Empire? Return of the Jedi, maybe. I don't know. It's, I think, not the cantina scene, it's the Jabba the Hutt scene. I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm cool. I keep up with that stuff, kids. But Tony McMillan is truly one of the preeminent talents that I have discovered while doing this. The single issues of Serious Creatures deal really well with the only gripe that I had about the amazingly priced trade paperback that he put out. I think it's like 20 or 25 bucks for 6 freaking issues. I mean, this art alone is worth the buy, but it's a great story. The only thing is in the trade, there's a little bit of gutter loss because it's tight, it's pulled together, okay? And this gives it so much more room to breathe. It just feels more natural too, the layout, and the way that it handles and the way that you're able to like physically manipulate the object. I do highly recommend, I think it's maybe a few more bucks if you pick up the single issues with shipping and stuff. Highly recommend it. It's definitely worth taking the plunge. If you're interested in picking up Tony's stuff, I really just do it. Bounce House Bazaar we looked at before. He's talking about expanding Grape Shot out. Get onto his Etsy page. He's still got copies of the Friday the 13th comic, I believe, that are up, and you get a free sketch. It's like 10 bucks and you get a free sketch. Go get yourself a book. What are you waiting for? Now, we got a couple of books that were sent in by Mr. James Windsor Smith. Wow, yeah. All right, let's move Tony's books so we can see James's book right there. Yeah. All right. Both by a guy that I've heard of but not read anything by yet. Thank you, James. Steve Laffler. Now, as I understand it, I don't know if he continued the series because Scalawag is volume 3 in the Bughouse series, all right? So, Lucha Bruja. Don't know if he continued Lucha Bruja. It's a spinoff or it's been repackaged, but I do believe that Lucha Bruja has either been continued or become or whatever. Death Plays a Harmonica. And from what I've heard, very like basically autobiographical piece in many regards. This book, freaking trippy crazy, man. You know me, I don't really peddle too much in plots to sell books. This gets into some serious Dan Clowes territory. All right, we're talking like 2,000-year-old wrestling vampires and a taxi driver, like I think he's a sentient fungi. He's a taxi driver, but he's also a sentient fungus. Yeah, like I said, weird, lofty, crazy concepts. Obviously, death also shows up. Believe playing a harmonica, as one might imagine. But yeah, it's a great freaking series. If you're looking for something that's a little bit outside of the normal wheelhouse of superhero books or whatever, but you want something that's really well done, self-contained, smart, intelligent, also got none of the pretentious aspects that you can sometimes find in independent work of that nature, Lucho Bruja got you covered, let me tell you. The art wasn't necessarily like what I would normally gravitate towards. I do think that it's very like Dan Clowes. It's a cartoonist style. And cartoonist styles are usually done to better serve the story. I believe that is the case here. Lafleur is very much interested in conveying ideas and a story in the best possible and most engaging way. I mean, this just screams like Mike Allred, Dan Clowes, kind of that really nice vintage 50s take on stuff, but thrown right into a blender with somebody like Gary Panter. This reminds me a lot of something you would have seen serialized in a book like Raw or Taboo or something. I could talk about Lucha Bruja for a long time. Really highly recommend checking that out. I don't really do elevator pitches, but like I said, you know, 2,000-year-old wrestling vampires, sentient fungus. Come on, what more do you want? Just take a shot. Lafleur, the other book that he sent along by Lafleur is called Scalawag. This was volume 3. I actually didn't get much of a chance to check it out. What I did think was pretty interesting, though, is how similar the art styles are and yet very, very different. This is very heavy on like cross hatching and or hatching, and like you can see a lot of like really heavy pen work going on in this that is not present in Lucho Bruja. So I think that Lafleur, as I said, is very much more interested in telling a story. Like I said, I didn't get a chance to check out Scallywag too much, but I did find it interesting, the variation in art there. Now, I've heard really good things about Steve Lafleur, so I super appreciate you sending that along, James. Now, next guy that we're going to be talking about, I've mentioned before, I believe. I don't know if we've actually done a flip through or not, so I apologize if we have, but in case we haven't, and even if we have, Max deserves as much attention as he can get. Mr. Max Fucks. Now, don't flip out. I'm going to be doing an indie spotlight just on this stuff right here, so we're only going to do a cursory flip through right now. The big thing from Max that you probably want to check out, that you should support, is basically what his Patreon page is made for. It's the motherfucker. Now, I wish I could show more of it and talk about it and even say the title, but unfortunately, it does have a little bit of adult language in it. And, you know, there's some adult material in here. It's a wrestling comic, slightly violent. There's not like, you know, severe, like high nudity and like straight hardcore sex and stuff, but it's crazy. So if you guys want to check out a completely uncut view of this book right here, the name of which I can't really even repeat a bunch of times on YouTube, make sure to sign up for the Patreon page. I'm going to be doing a flip through and check out this book all on its own. This is the big book from Max that you should definitely be checking out. It's the series he's pouring his heart and his soul into. It's what his Patreon is all about. And if you sign up for his Patreon, you get access to the pages as he makes them, exclusive content, and at the end of the year, as long as you're signed up at a certain tier, you get a physical copy. I think this is published annually. It's a wonderful, yeah, here's an ad for his Patreon right here, like a very clever man, because that's another thing about Max, is he's got his stuff together. really enjoyed speaking to Max. I'm really hoping that he's capable of coming on for an interview as part of the Indie Spotlight to promote this, and I will have information about that as soon as it's available. There's a lot of stuff going on with Max's stuff. He's got a extremely varied art style, okay? It just totally depends what he's working on, what his stuff is gonna look like. I think that's very interesting, but the big influences that I see on him are all very much European. This could say Frank Miller to a lot of people. To me, this looks very much like Mobius, looks a lot like some guys like Zafino, reminds me of Topi, color work. I think that Max is very well read when it comes to international comics. I'm hoping to talk to him more about that in the interview, but like I said, we can't do a super huge dive on this book just because of the stupid name. Or not because of the stupid name, because YouTube is stupid about the name. What we can do though is check out the other book that he sent along, Halcyon Noir. This is a black and white series that Max did along with a guy named B. Pez. Now, there's some pretty heavy stuff in the first story that I don't even want to show you because this dude's just hanging dong. I don't have a big problem with that or anything. Not like I don't have dong myself. I'm just saying, like, YouTube ain't gonna look so super great on that. Cool thing is, if you look at the art inside of this, you get a extremely varied, like, there's two guys, okay? This looks like it could have been done by a team of different guys. This is what I'm talking about with like the Zafino influences and that kind of thing. Really love the screen tone usages, by the way. And also, this is by Max. There's great pencil work in here. At least this looks like pencil to me. It looks like it's just heavily rendered pencil, even on this last piece. I think there's this photo collage down at the bottom. But it's just cool to see the variation in his style, because you get a piece like that and then you turn the page and this is also Max. And this is also Max. So you get a really good idea of like what I'm talking about with the varied style that Max is capable of with Halcyon Noir. The one style that I don't think is very well represented inside of Halcyon Noir is his, like, I don't want to call it his industry style, but I feel like it's him, you know, doing his best to operate within the confines of like, hey, this is what we as an industry think pages and characters and that kind of stuff should look like and be designed. He employs these like super clean Jeff Darrow inspired lines that are just great. They're totally killer, but they're the absolute polar opposite of the work that he does on the motherfucker. Like, that book is straight Gerardo Zafino, Jorge Zafino, actually, not Gerardo, actually Jorge Zafino, like Mobius. You could see Mobius in this book too, but this is like Jeff Darrow all day, man. Look at this line work, right? Juan Jose Rip. Like, this line work reminds me so much of those guys mixed in with Mobius. You can see Mobius in here, but that's the big international influence, and that's kind of acceptable at this point, being in a Mobius. One of the big things about Max is he's not afraid to put in the work. This is just an amazing page layout. This double page spread, the way that he uses these images, brilliant, man. He's going back to like Bernard Krigstein. He's breaking stuff down. He continues on the next page. He uses the same panel composition. I love the pull in here, works really well. A lot of times those shots can get away from you really easy, the perspective. But this shows you just the variation in his style. I mean, it's pretty incredible. The other cool thing about this is I don't have time to watch movies or television for the most part. I just honestly don't. I'm always either drawing something or I am writing or researching or recording for the channel. That's basically what I do if I'm not spending time with my family. So I didn't know anything about Altered Carbon. The cool thing is they introduce you to the concept, they explain stuff in a nonchalant way. You're put into this universe, You do not need to have seen like the show or know any of the characters, any of that stuff. This book is totally worth checking out. Like I said, we're going to do a indie spotlight just on these 3 issues alone, so I don't want to go through them too inordinately much, but I did kind of want to show off, like, look at this page, okay? This amazing rendering that's going on right here, and I'm trying to find a really nice, like Zafino page. Yeah, I always kind of levitate back to this because it's got the Kirby crackle, but you can see like this black line work in here, and then compare that to this. Like, look at this. This is not sterile. It could be sterile, but this is surgical is what this is. This is fucking surgical. This is a guy with a razor coming in and doing like exactly what is asked of him, telling a clear, legible, totally badass story that plays to all of his strengths while not having to rely whatsoever on any sort of pre-existing style or anything like that. It is an amazing, and if you look at Halcyon Noir as well, just looking at the, you know, breadth of stuff that he's capable of creating, Max is an incredible talent. I really am lucky to have wandered onto him. Wanted to thank him again for sending those in, and we will be doing an indie spotlight on those. I don't remember if we've looked at those or not. If we have, I apologize. The great series, you should check them out. This is Transmigratory Adventures of Philip K. in the Land of the In-Betweeners. Okay, so this is Philip K. Dick, basically, I'm guessing, because Philip K. Dick was always obsessed with these very weird, strange, abstract concepts surrounding death and the surrealistic nature of life, like the perceptual nature of life. Now, one thing I want to mention about this, the character designs, all of that, they are fairly strange to me. This, however, is done by a guy named Sam Sonis. I think is how you pronounce his name. Talked to him several times online. Super cool, dude. The big selling point on this book is look at the way that he is able to, because this is really easy to let get away from you. Going this psychedelic. I love the way that the art and the story interact on this one. And there is just some crazy lines in this. I had galaxies in my fingernails. That line is gonna stick with me. But you also get a really wide variety of stuff. You can tell there's like digital stuff employed. And then you kind of switch back to this. It's a guy who basically dies, or at least he thinks he dies. And I think pretty sure he's dead, but he does stuff like he hits his toe and it hurts. So why does it hurt in the afterlife? He's also attacked by a sentient balloon that tries to eat him and pops it on a cactus. I don't know for sure, but I do know that Sam is in ringside, so I'd be surprised if that wasn't a reference to, we're supposed to look clever because it's in shot. All right, pop a balloon and cactus. So I'd be surprised if that wasn't a reference to James Windsor Smith. I wanted to point that out. I thought that was really cool. But in this first issue, he makes his way across this desert in what he believes is the land of death to this large pyramid, and he finds out that his soul has still yet to face basically judgment. Now, as he goes to face judgment in this second issue, which is what this is, the second issue obviously right here, everything about this is better. The colors are better reproduced. The page is, or the pages are just better printed. Everything about this, well done. Way to learn from issue 1 going into issue 2. This introduces a bunch of really insane freaking gods, all of which are kind of numbskulls. It's just crazy. There's like this giant confusing fight, and I don't mean confusing to us. I mean like it confuses even the lead character. Like Philip K. doesn't really know what's going on. But slowly but surely we're being introduced to this strange surrealistic world of the In-Betweeners. So if you were looking for something different, highly recommend checking out Philip K. Dick in the Land of the In-Betweeners. Also, they do Kickstart stuff. Okay, this is a fun one. X-Men Elsewhere. If you don't know what Elsewhere is, John Byrne basically managed to get himself exiled from the industry. I don't want to get into the reasons why, but I'm going to say that I don't disagree with him being exiled from the industry. Now, the thing is, John Byrne's immensely talented as an artist, and he's also probably the quintessential X-Men artist in most people's eyes, outside of perhaps Jack Kirby. So when he self-produced a comic and did it on spec and then put out all the issues, like all the pages and the issues for free, some people went and they prepared it for print. Now, I don't read digitally well at all. It just has to do with my learning disabilities. It's extremely hard for me. That's why I like comic books, because you have a clear delineation of who's saying what. It's all very well broken up. I can follow it. But what's cool about this is it gives you a glimpse directly into like John Byrne's like pencils, what his rough pages look like. And I would have loved to have seen something like this from like maybe 30 years ago, maybe 35 years ago at this point. Yes, I'm getting old. Wow. But it's really cool to even get a glimpse now. I think that the fact that we won't see this is kind of a shame, but I think there are some pretty good reasons for it. If you want to know those reasons, just get on John Byrne's forum and look at the man committing career suicide on his own forum. It's what I can only refer to it as. I don't want to ruin X-Men for you with a couple of things that he said, but I will say that I'm trying to put my distaste for John Byrne aside and enjoy this for what it is, which is basically new, like, vintage X-Men. And you don't get that very often. It is amazing. I have a viewer from a country where the copyright laws are slightly more malleable than they are here in the United States. Now, what's cool is I've seen these printed in like trades a couple of times, but these are actually single issues. They have these awesome connecting covers. I should have been clever and tried to put them all in order. Where's issue 2? There's issue 2. See? They connect. I'm not a liar. They're super cool. But he sent these in. I really wanted to give him a shout out. We're going to be doing an episode that's all just about X-Men Elsewhere. But I did kind of want to pop that open and show that off. Plus, these are awesome freaking covers. All 5 of the issues connect. And if anybody has lines on any other books like this that are in questionable legal territory that I can't purchase, I would love to get more stuff like that sent into the channel so that we could just check it out, so that people know it's out there and know to look for it. And speaking of which, Ultra Mega. Now, this is a series that I've definitely known was out there, wasn't able to afford it while it was coming out. I wanted to give a huge shout out to Roland Katsuragi for sending this in. Man, I knew James Herron was kind of like the reigning titan, all pun intended, as we look at a shit ton of kaiju fights here, but kind of the reigning champion, the artist of the up-and-coming, or the artist of up-and-coming artists of the day. This series, I think, really well encapsulates why that is. These things are monstrous, like 64-page issues. I have pretty severe learning disabilities, so even with comics, sometimes with stuff like this, I do have a hard time sitting down and reading an entire issue. That was not the case for this. And that's not necessarily because it is a very visual story, which it is, and you can see that. Much of the story is told through visuals. But it didn't necessarily make it like the speed turning, super quick read that sometimes does. It operates very much in service of the story, and the story is what is really cool about this. Just the concepts and some of the crazy stuff that happens. Like these big, monstrous guys, right? Dude gets his head punched off, and he bleeds into the street, and literally it scabs over, and people die in the scabs. This baby is like trapped in the scab. And child becomes important later, of course. But this series, like, it well encapsulates why James Herron is like known as the beast of beasts when it comes to the non-Marvel DC, you know, Bronze Age heavy hitters like Bowen and stuff that are cover artists and stuff. James Herron, this guy is so immensely talented. It's absolutely nuts. I was also really impressed with the storytelling in this book. I'm not gonna lie, sometimes these visual tour de forces kind of leave you lacking a little bit in the story elements. This book did not. It was super engrossing. I cannot wait for volume 2. Can't thank Roland enough for sending these in. As I said, I just could not afford it when it was coming out. This was a great read. If you guys want to see an episode just on like James Herron, or maybe me looking at Ultra Mega, whatever, you know, let me know. Get in the comments section. Am I the only one that's absolutely obsessed with James Herron? Because I think this dude is a monster, dude. Just a monster. The other really cool thing, and I think one of the things that really helps set this series just apart from everything else on the stand and shine the way that it should, is the fact that the almighty Dave Stewart is doing colors in this. Dave Stewart is like, he's number 2. There's Steve Oliff, and then there's Dave Stewart. Those are the 2 colorists that have ever gotten me to pick up books just on the like fact of like, oh, hey, look, Dave Stewart colored that shit. I should go buy that because it's going to look cool. Like, he can take the most pedestrian art and just breathe killer life into it. And with James Herron, it's really interesting to look at his usages of, like, when he uses flats and when he doesn't, his really sparse usage of multicolored palettes. He relies on some really interesting coloring techniques for this series, and they all kind of fall into line with the different characters that are represented. It's a really interesting series as far as the story goes. Also visually, I don't think there's really anything else like this that's on the stands right now. James Herron is getting a lot of recognition. He's a pretty prolific guy, and I know he's doing some anthology work for a couple of series from Image that are coming out or have just come out right around now. But I did want to flip through this, show this series off. If you guys want to know more about Ultra Mega, I would love to talk about it more. He does like 4, I think, of these 64-page just behemoths a year. We're looking not too long, I don't think, before he starts releasing new issues, couple of months maybe for the next year, if I remember hearing right. But I know the trade for Volume 1 is out right now, which is why I really wanted to flip through this and show it off, because you can go and you can pick up the trade right now. I can't recommend it enough. The series was freaking incredible. Let's get cosmic. Okay, so Eli Schwab and the Cosmic Lion crew have cooked up some absolute insanity for your melons. I got a sweet care package from Eli this past week. Had these 3 books in them. Now, the first book we're going to check out is Weird Myths. Then we were going to do a quick look at these 2 issues of Space Knights. The reason we're doing quick looks is these are getting an indie spotlight. I've spoken to Kevin. We are doing an interview. It is on like Donkey Kong. This series is going to blow your head right off of its rocker. So awesome. Weird Myths is super cool. I don't want to like undersell Weird Myths. This is a very impressive book. It reminds me a lot of like the post Yonan Vasquez, Roman Dirge, 1994, 95, 96, like up until maybe 98, 99, black and white, independent books. And it reminds me a lot of guys that were toying with limited color printing, that were toying with heavy usages of black and white, that were toying with panel composition, that were toying with working for like magazines. Like, I don't know if anybody remembers Carpe Noctem, but like Carpe Noctem was the magazine that Johnny the Homicidal Maniac started in. That's why like the Meanwhiles are all 1 page and stuff. Some of the stuff from Carpe Noctem, I think, made it into the director's cut. Anyway, so there was stuff like this, directly like this, in the 90s. The thing was, you usually got like maybe 2-3 pages of it. You did see also stuff like this definitely in like Raw, Taboo, but again, 2-3 pages. seeing this much of it in one place kind of allows you to give, and I am not even going to begin to attempt to mutilate Ozan's last name. I hope to God I'm even pronouncing Ozan correctly. I apologize if not. This work is really cool. It's unique, it's different. I'm a big sucker for like limited color printing, so this book definitely wins some points for me, like right there, just for the black, white, and red. And I really like the fact that he does white line over black. I'd be interested to know how he achieves all of this, if everything's digital or if this is traditional or how he does stuff. It's super cool. I know there are digital elements, at least from what I can see, but very much enjoy this. And for anybody who thinks that the like panel compositions looks fairly like easy or lazy, like changing small things about panels, like redoing the same image over and over again with slight alterations is a massive pain. It's what makes animation so hard. But it is one of the things that I hear people kind of crap on with stories like this. Weird Myths is weird. If you're into Yonan Vasquez, if you're into like, just, I mean, in general, that like really cool wave of dark, mythological, but not necessarily like super heavy or theological stories and comics that were coming out throughout the like mid 90s and those black and white magazines all the way up until the early 2000s. Definitely give Weird Myths a shot. Very, very cool book. Well printed, well put together. Space Knights, however, holy. Kevin Anthony Catalan has gone plaid. That is all I'm going to say about these books. Holy crap. Okay, so first thing, Space Knights. I believe this material has been printed before. However, Eli and Cosmic Lion has recollected it, or collected it for the first time. Together again for the first time. I swear, my last Spaceballs reference. Sorry. So it's $20. You get 4 stories in here. Eli understands comics as a fetish item, and I think that Kevin does too. And this is done with that wonderful, soft velour cover. Handling this book is an absolute pleasure. The paper stock, I think, could have been a little bit flatter. I wish they'd have gone with a little bit flatter, less glossy of a page stock. The colors are all done in the like 90s 4-color sep with tons of screen tone, that kind of stuff. Works really well. The page stock doesn't lose it, but if you get it too much in the light, you lose some of the nice background details and stuff. So, and we're going to look at Tales of Space Knights. This, I think, was a much wiser paper stock choice. And also, I think the art works better at that size. But anyway, so this is a monstrous series. And I don't just mean like big in the sense of this is, you know, fairly decent sized book. What I mean is this is an enormous universe. I really wanted to point this out too. I know that this is a traditional painting. I was looking at this original painting. Gorgeous. There's basically no toying done with this. It's just great. He does all of his stuff pen and ink, and then he digitally colors it, and it works just wonderfully. But this is a huge, enormous universe. There's a lot of concepts, a lot of characters, a lot of stuff happening. Not all of it makes sense yet. I don't think we have the proper context to quite put everything in. I didn't understand all the concepts until I got done with Tales of Space Knights. Understood a lot more of what was going on inside of this book. That is not a deterrent. This is an amazing book. I am just giving you a heads up that as a veteran comic reader, I did have to go back and give it a second read at a few points and be like, okay, wait a minute, what? And I was able to put the pieces together with the help of Tales of Space Knights. So there are like characters, concepts, and some larger story elements that are introduced in the 4 separate tales that comprise this Tales of the Space Knights.
I think this is either considered volume 1 or issue 1. It doesn't really even say, it just says 1. But what it does is it's bringing you into this vast, huge universe filled with some insane characters. And it does it with some of the most amazing art. I mean, let me say this book is worth it just for the art alone. I mean, look at these great Frank Miller, Lynn Varley, Klaus Janson, Dark Knight Returns panels. He's a big fan of Miller, you can tell. It took me a while. I didn't even notice this was a Dark Knight homage for a while. And I was like, oh man, that's why that image is so great. But Kevin is just an immensely talented dude. Looking at his work in this was really, really, really neat. But you can see he's kind of evolving and changing and swapping some stuff out. Sometimes he's a little bit looser. Sometimes he's a little bit tighter. He feels like he's finding himself throughout this material. And as I said, I think this stuff has come out prior. So it's from just a little while before. Now, the new stuff is all in Tales of Space Knights. And Tales of Space Knights is like a zine more than just a comic. It's got a introduction to like the universe, and then it's got like these, it's basically like a guide to the characters and the concepts and ideas that make up Space Knights. One of the really cool things I do, okay, 2 seconds, I do kind of want to show this off. This is really freaking neat because it should get mentioned. If you're putting together a trade paperback or a collection like this and you have self-published material, please put it in the back. This is so cool. This is the earliest Space Knight stuff, and he's lost the original art, so this is the highest quality stuff that he had. But I'm going to tell you what, even at like subpar quality or whatever, I am just so happy to have this. It is so cool. It shows like the level of attention to detail and the love that Kevin and Eli both have for the property. And to follow that up, you also get supplementary material on like the process and like different stuff, as well as an ad for the next Space Knights. I think it makes a really, really, really cool addendum to the collection. Makes it very worthwhile picking up. Now, Tales of Space Knights, I'm going to say this book, you can just see Kevin like leveling up on art. Okay, this is where Kevin is going with his stuff. And I've seen a couple of commissions. Holy smokes. I have got to talk to Kevin about getting a Max piece and an Uncle Jerk. I've fallen in love. I mean, this guy is so immensely talented. He's one of the few guys that I've come across that really, 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 I need a piece from him. He's got some very affordable commissions. His original art is insanely priced. Like, I wish I had the money for it. But the 11 by 17 black and white inks for Space Knights, this cover right here is like $200. If that gives you any idea. Like, I mean, it is great. Look at this stuff. It's awesome. And he's got a super wide variety. That is canker level, like cross-hatching on the hat there. I love Thier. The designs, the concepts, all absolutely amazing. You can see Kevin really pushing himself. Also, I think this paper stock worked really well. I saw a post that Kevin said a big reason he did this was to kind of try to make himself work outside of his comfort levels, because black and white isn't easy for him and that kind of stuff. It does not show. This book is, look at that. That's insane. That is insane. I need art from this man. He's, oh my God. I can't wait to do the Indie Spotlight and do the interview with Kevin, because it's just some amazing stuff. Also, you get just great pieces of backstory and history and stuff that fills stuff in. This is like the edict from this huge, massive religion of religious zealots against these guys they consider cultists. There's this like huge war going on with elves and humans and these strange god entities. Looking at this art though, you would not know that Kevin has any problem with black and white art. That is a beautiful panel composition. And one of the cool things about this book is, oh wow, and right on time. I can't believe I actually, oh no. And bam, fold out, and you've got a triple page spread. This was creative and could not have been easy to do in my opinion, but it's super cool. Oh, does it work? Oh, does it work? It's so nice. Sorry, I know it's kind of gimmicky, but in the best possible way, absolutely loved it. If you're looking at this like with a critical eye as well, which I was, comparing this to the Space Knights Volume 1, I will say that most certainly Kevin is really leveling up, man. I mean, his stuff like in this and saying like black and white is difficult for him, I am absolutely taken with this guy's art. I can't wait to sit down and do the Indie Spotlight and just talk with him a little bit more about his art, because it is insane. Just gorgeous to look at. Also, the paper stock on this I think works really well. It accentuates his line work and his like nice pen work. And he does all of the pen work as far as I know traditionally. So super well done stuff. Great piece. And dude, if the art's not enough to sell you on this alone, this is like setting up a universe, which is going to be populated by characters that you're introduced to in Space Knights. It's going to be cool. Like 35 bucks. So like 40 bucks with shipping. Gets you like 5 issues and like a guide to a series. Most certainly worth checking out. So, I think that is it for tonight. Yeah. So make sure that you get on Cosmic Lion stuff. Check out their newest episodes. Hopefully I'm going to be having a chat with Eli after this premiere. Talk with him a little bit about Cosmic Lion, where they're headed, what they're doing, what they're going to be putting out, because they are in the middle of an expansion. And I am really taken with the stuff that we've got now. They've got a 3rd book that's getting ready to come out, which I'm sure I will also be taking a look at on the channel as well. So hopefully we'll be having a chat with Eli and get to talk about all of that. If you missed Ultra Mega, don't know how you missed it. This was like the talk of the town. I think I'm like one of 4 people that hadn't read this series. Do yourself a favor, remedy that right away. If anything about this sounds cool, holy crap, does it live up to it? Now, as far as X-Men Elsewhere, you can't buy these books, but you can get the pages for free online if you want to read the material. We're going to be doing an issue-by-issue breakdown of these. There's 5 issues, so there'll be no shortage of really cool John Byrne art to look at from those. I just seriously want to thank the guy who sent those in all the way overseas to make sure that we got to check them out on the channel, because that is just so incredibly cool. These covers are insane. They're just absolutely gorgeous. Massive thank you to James Windsor Smith, as always. Massive contributor to the channel in so many ways, and just a super cool guy. Check out The Transmigratory Adventures of Philip K. Dick in the Land of the In-Betweeners, and the work of Steve Lafler, namely Lucha Bruja, which is what I have heard the best about, or the most about actually. Scalawag I've heard a lot about as well. I mean, that's on its 3rd volume, so I'm not inordinately caught up on the last maybe 10, 15 years of indie guys, unfortunately. But Lucha Bruja, that was a fun freaking read. So give that a check out. Also, we will be talking much more about and directly with Mr. Max Fox, who does the motherfucker, as the Halcyon Noir anthology with some very not safe work in the first story there. And he's got Altered Carbon out as well. I seriously wanted to thank Shelves of Glory. No, seriously, thank you, Bob, for sending this in, making this possible. Can't wait to talk to Max, expose more people to his stuff. As always, Tony. Well, those were all supposed to be stacked up and it's supposed to be all dramatic. Mick Millen is the man. If you're not following Tony's stuff, I don't know what you're doing. Go check it out. Absolutely insane stuff. Thank you to everybody who sent stuff, and I hope you guys enjoyed, maybe even saw something that you want to buy. If you did and you can't find it, get in the comment section below. Let me know. I will make sure to get a direct link or contact information, whatever you need to make sure that you can cop some of this sweet, sweet comic books that we checked out this week. If you are interested in having your comic book featured, as I said, all you got to do is email me, direct message me, hit me up on Instagram, leave a comment on this video, whatever. I want to make this a bigger part of the channel. As you can see, I don't want to just do like 2-second flip throughs. I actually want to look at stuff. I can promise that everything that's sent in that is safe to view on YouTube, that won't just get directly monetized, get me banned or booed or shot, is going to be on film. So if you want to see your stuff on there, get a hold of me. If you are not a creator, but you know of a book that you want to see featured on here, same goes. Just get a hold of me. You don't have to be the creator to send in books. If you want to see a book featured, I had a couple of people ask me about this. So if you want to see a book featured, just let me know and we will get something worked out and we will get those books on the channel. I want to get more good independent books to people that are buying them, because that is the lifeblood of the industry as I see it coming forward. So thank you guys for sticking with me. If you did enjoy what you saw, make sure you hit that like button. Think about getting in the comment section below and letting me know. And if you really enjoyed what you saw, make sure you Hulk smash that subscribe button. If you do that, make sure you ding the little notification bell so you never miss another video or premiere again. If you feel like you're in a position to help the channel grow, think about using the link in the description below to sign up for my Patreon page. For as little as $3 a month, you get access to tons of behind the scenes posts, updates, exclusive content like uncut interviews, and you can even get your name in the credits. If you want to support the channel but Patreon is not your thing, have no fear. You can finally sign up for membership right here on YouTube. Just hit the little join button and make sure to select the tier and perks that fit you best. If that's not enough, you can also make one-time donations towards specific goals or just tip the channel using the Ko-Fi link in the description below. And you can even pick up your very own JerkComic shirts like the ones you see on the screen now. As always, this video was brought to you by the Jerk Broadcasting Service, as well as generous grants from the Patreon, Ko-Fi, and YouTube members you see on the screen now. I seriously want to thank every single one of you that supports the channel and helps make these videos possible. I really hope the quality and content is getting better, and I can't wait to see where the next year takes us with your continued support. Thank you again for helping this crazy dream of mine become a reality and for sticking with me. I hope you all enjoyed, maybe even learned something. And as always, I really, truly, and honestly ask only two things. Keep hitting those local shops and keep reading comics.